All right, so this is page 335, some practice from page 335, which is solving by graphing. So I'm just going to go over the first two examples with you, and then hopefully that will help you finish the worksheet on your own. So remember, when we're solving by graphing, the goal is just to graph both lines on the same graph, and where the two graphs intersect, where they cross, is our solution. So we're just going to graph both lines like we would normally graph, but just on one coordinate plane. So if I start with this first one, y equals 1/2 x minus 5. Again, we're on page 335. We're on page 335. So if I'm graphing this, I know that my m value or my slope is the number in front of x. Remember, our equation is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So then my m is 1/2 and my b is -5. So then remember, we always graph the b first. So I'm going to graph b first. So I'm going to go find -5 on my y-axis. Remember, it's always the y-intercept, so it goes on the straight up and down line. I found -5 right here. Then a slope of +1/2 means from this point, I'm going to go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, and I'll just keep marking points. The more points you have, the more accurate your graph can be, and therefore finding the intersection will be easier as well. So if I connect these points, my line looks something like that. So I graphed the first line here, and so now I'm just going to do the same thing with this line. I'm going to graph that line on this same graph. So here, my m value, there's not a number here, which means there's an imaginary 1. So this is -1, which I'll write as -1/1, because its slope, it helps to have it as a fraction. And then my b value is +1. So when I graph that, I graph b first, so I go find +1 on my y-axis, which would be right here, +1. And then a slope of -1/1 means we're going to go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And we can see we just met up with that other line. So we know we have found our solution. So I'll go ahead and connect the dots that I have. And then where those two lines met, which is at this point right here, was where they crossed, is our solution. So we're going to write that as the ordered pair. Remember, we write it as x comma y. So we've got to figure out the x value first. So the x value here was 4, and the y value was -3. So my answer would be 4, -3. All right, I'll do one more example for good measure. Again, we're going to graph our two lines and see where they cross. So if I look at my first equation here, I have y equals 4/5x minus 2. So that tells me my m value or my slope is 4/5, and my b value is -2. So when I graph that, we always graph b first. So I'll graph -2 first. So I find -2 on my y-axis, which would be right here. Right, I know it's hard to read the numbers, but if this is 0, right, this is where my x and y cross, so this is 0. -2 would be 2 underneath that. And then my slope +4/5 means I'm going to go up 4, and then right 5, 3, 4, 5. And I could do it again, up 4, right 5. And if I was looking for more points, remember, you can reverse what you're doing. So instead of going up to the right, you can go down to the left. So I could also go down 4 and left 5. And it should line up with the points you've already done. So we can see that there. So then I can draw my line. Perfect. So now I'm going to repeat that process with my second line here. So my m value here is 2, which I'll write as 2/1 so that I have it as a fraction. Remember, anytime it's a whole number, you can always write a 1 underneath it to make it a fraction. And then my b value is -8. So I'll graph b first at -8. So that means I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then my slope is positive 2 over 1. So that means I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And we can tell I just drew over that other line. That is where those two are going to meet. So I like to just keep going until the lines meet. That way I know the exact point. If I only draw 2 points and make the line, it might be hard to tell exactly where they cross. So I always like to just keep going until they actually meet. So they met at this point here, which remember we're going to find the x value first. So that would be positive 5. And the y value is positive 2. So my answer, my solution would be 5, 2, because my answer always comes in an ordered pair. So hopefully that helps, and that will let you finish the next 4 problems on this page.